With the gold price on the verge of a new breakout, the RBA's coming rate shock is poised to be just the thing that tips the gold bulls on their way. But specifically, there are 3 ASX gold stocks that are primed to win big. So strap in because we dive deep, highlighting key levels you need to know so that you can trade these stocks like a pro. We've also got huge amount of uncertainty on the horizon. And so with all of these things lining up, or catalysts, there is this very real possibility that gold's about to go on another big leg up.
At the very least, we've got a nice 20% in the short term, but for the longer term perspective, you've got up to that all-time high, 124%.
Today, the share price is down 7%. But what's quite interesting, just like the previous stock, it's actually coming right into this make or break moment. Welcome to Wealth Within's Hot Stock Tips. With over 2 decades of experience training over 30,000 clients, we bring you what actually works in the stock market. Joining me today is Wealth Within analyst Pedro Banales, and I'm senior analyst Philip Tortevsky. So let's dive straight in now. Welcome, Pedro.
G'day, Phil. These stocks are looking nice. I'm looking forward to today's show.
Yeah, look, we're going to cover off 3 amazing gold plays that are looking very bright at the moment. And I just wanted to, before we get into that, I want to bring up the chart of gold and have a look at the chart of gold. And whilst we look at that chart on your screen now, I wanted to talk a little bit, Pedro, about what we are walking into, because obviously, there is that big rate shock decision coming over the next day or two. And, the market's pricing in a rate cut. It could, in fact, be bigger than what the market is thinking. We've also got a huge amount of uncertainty on the horizon. We've got earnings season coming. We've got Trump's 9th of July tariff decision on the way. And so with all of these things lining up, or catalysts, there is this very real possibility that gold's about to go on another big leg up. And that's the exciting part right now.
Yeah, it does seem like everything is aligning towards that, doesn't it? We're going through an easing cycle now in Australia. We're still waiting to see if America will also go into an easing cycle. We've got China buying record amounts of gold, a lot of uncertainty around the world, like you mentioned. So everything is pointing towards higher gold prices, and so are the charts. And that's really where our field of expertise is. So I'm looking forward to having a look at that there.
Yeah, let's go to that right now. So on the screen is the chart of gold. And, like we said, Pedro said rightfully so, talking about all the catalysts or fundamental reasons why things will go up, at the end of the day, it's the price action that's going to tell you. And being there right on time is the most important part. And the reason I say that, because being right on time could be right now when we're talking about what gold is doing, because I've marked 4 boxes here in pink, and these are going to become important, especially when we get into the gold stocks later on. But you can clearly see that since breaking through to a new all-time high back in 2023 for gold, it experienced this sideways congestion. Now, a lot of our, clients that come and train with us, our students, will really know what this means and what comes next. So, just to that point, Pedro, you look at this and you go, okay, it's gone sideways. And then you look at this one, the second period in April 2024, we get huge consolidation at all-time highs, breakout into trend. Same thing happens once we break to a new all-time high in November 24. Now we're currently sitting at a new all-time high, 3,500. Most people thought gold couldn't get there, but we are starting to repeat in this cycle rather than break away, which you could see in terms of whether the run's ending. You'd see seller activity, but this is a real clear sign that the market's getting ready for its next move up. And if we can start moving up with gold, like we saw in the last week, really bullish price action, opened on the low, closed near the high, within the range, started at the bottom of the range. If this week the gold price gets going and starts moving up around that 34.50 level, then there's a very real chance that we're about to break out into a new bull run for gold. And that's going to mean a lot of exciting things for these 3 stocks we're about to bring up.
Absolutely. If this was a stock, you would be very excited to take an entry once that breakout happens. Now, just wanted to quickly go on my chart and just see the bigger picture. I've got a price target here that you can see on the screen of around 3,729. Now, that may not seem like a lot, and it's just 11% up towards that. Now, that's the minimum amount. Now, you might ask how I got to this, I got to that price projection. Well, it's using an advanced pattern analysis that we teach in the advanced course. You mentioned the diploma earlier. there are also advanced techniques that we teach in the advanced course. And at a bare minimum, I'm seeing a $3,729 price target for the price of gold. But you know what the exciting part is that even if it does hit that and it has a bit of a retracement, we're still not through the full range of that up move that we have for gold. And what I mean is the longer term potential for gold. And I mean, we're talking that it could even go as high as $6,000 in the long term.
Yeah.
So I would say, short to medium term, 3,700. We could see a bit of a pullback in the future, but still the longer term projection is to the upside.
Yeah, and I mean, the reason I wanted to bring up that gold chart first was just to give that as a bit of an intro into what we're coming into now, and that is the gold stocks, because the rising gold chart will bode well for these stocks. And the first one I want to bring up is Bellevue Gold, ASX code BGL. Now, I want to bring up this announcement, Pedro, first up, because it came out with an absolutely ripping announcement today. Record free cash flow of 67 million as Bellevue exits FY25 at record production rate. So record. Anytime you hear records, I mean, it's always a good thing for this particular stock, especially when you tie it in with what you're seeing on the share price. So let's go to the chart itself, because this is where it gets really exciting. Obviously, when you look at the share price of Bellevue Gold, it's coming off a really steep and severe correction. Now, what does that mean? I mean, you're looking at a chart that, or a company that's come out with some record numbers firsts for the company. Big free cash flow, meaning it's using the capital, it's keeping the capital well, and record production with the gold price about to break out from all-time high levels and go on another bull run. Well, really, that speaks to me like a bit of a deep value type opportunity here if the share price can get going. And I mean, just looking at Bellevue, 50-60% correction of the most recent large correction before the one that we've just had. And if I measure that back throughout history, we can see there was another big correction around 60%. And, following that, there was one through here, which again, believe it or not, was around 60%. So the three biggest corrections in the history of Bellevue, we're on the monthly chart, have been around that 60% level. So if we measure out the current projection, oh, well, guess what, mate? It's on 60%. It's on 60% again. So we're coming into the extremities of what you would see in terms of what has happened in history with projections on this stock. And we're starting to give these really beautiful basing out patterns, which is why it makes this one exciting. We've got this very long-term momentum line that it's come back to test and touch. We're now starting to creep up and look through this momentum line. We're not there yet, but we're basing out in one of those similar movements that we saw on the gold itself, where it's, compressing sideways, and we're seeing a whole chunk of volume come in. Now, what's interesting is that the volume's come in, but the price hasn't moved just yet. And to me, that's a bit of a telltale sign, because if big volumes come in, price hasn't moved just yet, well, we haven't really seen it fall through the floor in terms of a big seller move. So what's your other alternative that could be happening? So, I'll let you think about that one. But if we can get above $1.05, $1.06, or even $1.10, clear this momentum line, I think things are going to start looking very promising for this one. Thoughts?
Oh, yeah. I think that this one offers probably the best upside potential. There is another one that's looking really nice that we're going to cover later, but this is on the monthly chart that I've got some this range that I've highlighted here from 70 cents all the way up to $1.10. This is where we've seen the most price agreement. Now we can see that it has come back to this longer term trend. I think at the very least, we've got a nice 20% in the short term if you wanted to take a short term trade. But for the longer term perspective, you've got up to that all time high, 124%. That's looking very nice. And just quickly on the weekly, I know you've covered off a fair bit, but I like that the volume is coming in on these bars over here. It's not a large volume on this down move. It means that there's not a huge seller activity. There's more of a buyer's activity happening. So this is definitely looking like it's on the verge of a breakout. Any break above that dollar, like you said, it's looking good.
Yeah, and I mean, how many times do you see, people that come to us at startup, they look at stocks like this and they think instantly it's time to buy the dip or buy the low. And we're not saying that. Exactly what Pedro and I are referring to is that opportunity looks like it's on the horizon, but it's all about getting that confirmation. So on that point, if you do want to look for the confirmation and important aspects to get your trading right, go and check this book out, How to Beat the Managed Funds by 20%. It is free. It's in the link in the description. You just have to pay the shipping. Or alternatively, we are still offering our end of year special for the Diploma of Share Trading. It's one of the best prices that you're going to get out there. So please go and have a look at the course if you do want to take your trading to the next level and really hone in on these price action and charts. Read volume, read entries and exits with real confirmation so you can get that consistency in your trading. But let's now move on, Pedro, to the next one, because you did mention there's another good gold stock on the horizon, which is Northern Star Resources. And I mean, this one here has also come out with an announcement today, Pedro, and it's providing an operational update. Now, the announcement itself, the market has basically sold this news here, and I'll let you go and read into the detail out there if you do want to dive into the operational update. But what's exciting to me is today the share price is down 7%. But what's quite interesting, just like the previous stock, it's actually coming right into this make or break moment of the longest term gradient of rise, the momentum line. And so right now we're going to find out a lot about whether today's news is a bit of a overreaction early where smart money is going to be picking it up and continuing the bull run, because again, as you can see, volume is really picking up in the most recent run. That could indicate two things. It could indicate that it's getting sold off at these levels, but it could also indicate if we get a nice reversal and a continuation of momentum, especially what we've seen, over the last couple of weeks, as the volume is falling with the price falling, that could indicate that we're getting ready for the next run up. And smart money might just be buying this news, even if it is perceived a little bit negative, finding that right opportunity where, most of the retail might be dumping it, thinking that, okay, it's not good for the stock. But we're walking into right now that real, time will tell moment. And for me, I think it's very important watching it here at these levels. If we start to see an unfolding where the stock rises on up from here, but then only gets up to around that $19, $15, $20 and starts to break through this momentum line, then it would potentially be more of a cause for concern. But with all the catalysts coming along, with the gold price about to break out, if we can hold above this momentum line, I mean, you can have this as your marker. There might be some good trading opportunities to ride this one all the way from around $18, $19 up to back to those all-time highs of $22, $23, which warrants some decent upside. You're talking 25, 26, 27%. So there's that old saying out there in the market, Pedro, the trend is your friend. And right now, the trend is definitely supporting Northern Star, albeit we are seeing a little bit of extended price action up through here. So we're at that make or break type scenario for me. I'm not going to be ultra bullish or in terms of potential like the other opportunity was, even though the confirmation wasn't there for Bellevue. But this one here, there would be some short to medium term opportunity to ride the trend depending on what happens next.
Yeah, well, this one does seem like a bit of the safer play as well. I mean, Northern Star is a big stock. It's one of the top 50 in our market, unlike Bellevue, which is a little bit, lower in the scale of market cap. So this offers a bit of a safer opportunity in that sense, safer in the sense that you're riding the trend, like you mentioned. Now, going to the chart, I just wanted to highlight one possible price projection that I've got here at $34. Now, this is using the same pattern analysis that I used earlier in gold, those advanced techniques that I was talking about. So if that is the case, and we do say have a bit of a pullback down to this $16 level, that's double that price, right? So $16 is more than double that price if it does rebound from there. Now, if you were to take an entry, say roughly around that $18, that's 80% upside. So that's pretty good for a safe stock that's part of the top 50 that offers dividends. It's a and it's something I believe Northern Star is it's not only in gold. It's also there's also byproducts that come from mining gold that they can get involved in. So that offers that extra little bit of diversity. So I do like this one. I agree that it's not quite ready yet. We are at a make or break point, but at the same time, we are coming to that previous all-time high level of that around that $16.70, which coincides with that up momentum line. This is going to be the point to really look for a possible reversal to the upside. But I do agree, if it breaks below that momentum, then we're heading down.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, let's move on to another gold player, which is Regis Resources. And that, again, was in the news today with quite a nice announcement. Regis came out, Pedro, ending the year with production near the top end of guidance and 517 million in cash and bullion. The most important part of that was the gold production was up near the top end. And that's always nice to see, especially when, companies come out there and they have these guidance figures to match it and to be on par with the top end of the range. That's only going to bode well for the company and the confidence. So if we go to the share price and have a look at that right now, you'll see with Regis, it's in an interesting spot. And a lot, oftentimes what we speak about on shows, and this, I wanted to raise this because it's a perfect example from the point of view that price will often run a lot earlier before the good news comes or is released to the market. And, this is one of those examples. We were talking about Regis Resources back in October 2024 when, surprise, surprise, it gave one of these unfoldings, very much like what Bellevue Gold is going through at the moment. And once it broke out, we said, okay, purely on the price action alone, this stock was going to go for a big run. Now, you fast forward to today and you see that the company's producing at the top end, doing all the right things. And so the reason I say that is because the question now has to be asked, is a lot of that priced in? Are we at the top range given at $5.50? We've hit resistance there dating back from 2012. And that's kind of been the top for Regis Resources. So if I'm looking at this, even though the news is great, from a pure transactional or opportunity perspective, I'm only thinking that, hey, my upside limit or opportunity would be up to that 553, which really still bodes quite well at current price levels. You're talking about 24 to 26% upside. Could be more depending on how you structure that trade. But right now we're pulling back. What I like is that we're starting to reverse from last week. The bars are getting slower. The volume's falling away on the down move. In fact, increasing on the last up bar. So we could see a reversal this week, especially on what's happened today. But it would be nice to see it come back and test this momentum line. I'd feel safer if it came back to this to then find the opportunity to keep rising. Once it gets to $5.50, I'd be very cautious for further upside and let the market show you that it wants to break these levels before looking for further opportunity. So this one, I would say out of the three we've looked at so far, would probably need more than the other two in terms of what I want to see with the price action to give me that confidence of longer term upside. But hey, for a short term opportunity, I think there's still one present if you structure the trade right.
Yeah, this one does seem like the higher risk at one out of the three. You still got a nice little 30% upside if you manage to catch that short-term trade. Have a look at the monthly chart that I've got here, the range that I've just applied here. So we've got previous resistance levels that happened in 2012 at around that $14.17 and around 2013 hit beautifully in 2016. So multiple times here and even support back in 2019. That level has been very strong. And even recently in May 2025, it bounced beautifully off that level. So it is coming to a very strong support level. So from that level there, we do have that 30% upside if you manage to catch it. Of course, you're not just going to trade it purely based on a support level. You'd want to see a bit of confirmation. So you might have to, shorten that upside a little bit there. But it is looking nice from a shorter term perspective. We've got those two levels lining up very nicely, like you mentioned, and any reversal will be, pretty sharp, I believe. I mean, look at the way that this stock moves in terms of the gradient of these rises. It is quite sharp on the upside. You can see that we can copy these upside gradients to the next kind of position. But after that initial high degree upside, we are met with a pullback, and the question is, when is that pullback going to happen? And at the moment, it's looking pretty extended, and it's due for a pullback. We don't see any red bars since 2024, so we're still yet to see one. A little bit of a higher risk on this one. Watch that $14.17 level.
Yeah, $4.17. I'd even warrant maybe even a pullback to $4 would be quite interesting. But great points there. Now, for more hot stock tips, check out our video, 3 trending ASX stocks to buy in July.